here. So, thank you for being here, and special thanks to Margaret for being here. Okay.
So do you want to go first and do your thing, or?
No, I want to start.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to read from my paper because I'm not good by winging it. I don't think that I have to retell the story about how Ludovico Sculpture Trail came into existence. Wilhelmina, the founder of the trail, has had many struggles early in life, from surviving and experiencing the horrors of World War II and leaving her native country and everything that she knew to come to the United States, the land of freedom and opportunities. It is ironic that after 68 years and nearing the end of her life, she again struggles in a place known as the birthplace of women's rights. 2 years ago, my sister and myself met with Mr. Earl and one of the engineers and walked the trail in its entirety. The one thing that has had the greatest impact on me was when the engineer explained that most of the landscape on the western end would be destroyed. After reading the minutes from the public hearing on May 10, 2016, I had so many comments to make. At this time, I will only touch upon two of the most concerning issues. Mr. Baker stated that the trail will be restored and even upgraded to New York State canal standards. Maybe the Ludovico Sculpture Trail does not want to be like the other trails. That type of upgrade would take away from the natural outdoor experience and its simplicity. In the same meeting, Mr. Morrell stated, when going to court for such a purpose, the obligation of the municipality doing the project is to restore the land to the state it was in prior to the work being done. So does that mean they will miraculously put the same trees back, recover all that they killed and destroyed in the process? This municipality and anyone on this earth cannot and will never be able to restore or duplicate this area. As Mr. Baker stated, there are some wetlands that they would need to get a permit for. What he and this board are not telling you is about everything else. So let me tell you about the western end of the trail. The western end of the trail has just a small narrow pathway through a forest of trees, and within this area are wetlands and habitats of various species of animals. This includes threatened northern long-eared bat, which is listed under the Endangered Species Act of 2015. This act was originally put in place by President Nixon in 1973 to conserve the ecosystem on which they depend on. This act makes it illegal to kill, harm, or otherwise take a listed species. A taking means to harass, harm, pursue, hunt, shoot, wound, kill, trap, capture, collect, or attempt to engage in any such conduct. This area has been untouched for over 50 years. This is a home, a place of shelter, a place to eat and breathe. These animals have rights. They have no voice, but yet they have the right to live free from suffering and exploitation. All creatures feel pain, pleasure, fear, loneliness, and motherly love. Thinking about this forest main issue makes me ill. This community would be making a huge mistake to let this happen. Destruction of habitat, killing wildlife, risking the wetlands, vegetation, marine life, and waterway. As a side note, the U.S. EPA and the New York State DEC announced in 2010 that the entire New York State canal system, 524 miles long, which includes Erie, Cayuga, Seneca, Champlain, and Oswego canals, is a no discharge zone, meaning boaters are banned from discharging sewage into the canals due to the negative impact on the water quality and the risk of people's health and impairing marine life. What if this forest main, which would sit right along the canal, produces a leak undetected and seeps into the water? Hasn't there been enough damage in our habitats and wildlife and waterways throughout the world? In the State Environmental Quality Review from New York State DEC dated November 19, 2015, stated that Bayard Street is the best option. I want all of you here to know forced mains are not a commitment. They can be capped off and left in the ground non-functioning or maintained. The board, engineers, and subcontractors can make promises that there will be no leaks, breaks, or unpleasant aroma. They can say that they are using top quality supplies, but is that true? They want to save money after all. We all know that there are no guarantees in life. People make mistakes, computers fail, equipment fail, things happen. There was an article regarding the closure of the Seneca Lake State Park in the Finger Lakes Times. This closure was due to a pipe failure at a 2-year-old pump station. The result, 5,000 gallons of untreated sewage was released into the lake. I wonder if that pipe was guaranteed. Do the right thing. Everything has a place, and the trail is not the solution. The town has an existing system which they own and maintain, a system that apparently has lasted 100 years. Please replace the current system so that it can be used for another 100 years for our future generations. It is worth the inconvenience and the money. As new developments come into existence, the money will flow in and will most likely line the pockets of the town and not the community. Lastly, it is hard to conquer those with power, those that gather together as one in order to get what they want, regardless of the cost, which, by the way, is your money paying for the town attorney as well as the big firm in Buffalo to get the trail under eminent domain process. It's not cheap, and what they are spending could be going towards the cost of work on Bayard Street. This board will walk over and destroy whatever they need to in order to get what they want. The Pusmucans family, along with the members of the board and the Friends of Ludovico Sculpture Trail, are motivated and strong. I'm hoping that this will be a David and Goliath story where great odds can be overcome by the underdogs. All right, I know this is dark, so when you guys, when the lights come on, you can come see this. This is a bigger view, aerial view, and from this point right here, going along up to this point is the trail, right where all this greenery is. And this is Bayard Street. So that's one. Okay, that's it.
Okay, sure.
Where are we? Okay. All right, so here we are again, going straight over this way, curving around, curving, going. And this is all greenery, where all the animals are living, the wetlands, and then that's sucker bush. I know you do.
Sorry, there we go.
Same thing, one way or the other. It's the same thing. Same thing.
All right, say again. Show where the trail is.
Well, from that end,
Here.
yep, all the way up to here. So see how nice and curvy it is? They're gonna run some nice lines there.
This is Bayard Street,
Yeah.
and the trail starts here. So when you get down to, this is the clearing, right? I've got it right. That looks over to the Goulds Pumps.
Yep.
Which is where the real wetlands and wildlife habitat begins, because the trail at this point goes along beside the canal. But there's a straighter, smaller, little trail that goes straight all the way to Sucker Brook. And tell about that.
And there's another thing I want to mention. Down over here, it's very narrow. There's a little path, and then there's a hill, and then the houses are above. So that pipeline, I don't know how they're going to figure that out at all. But at any rate, there's a lot of habitat in here. You can't tell me that no one lives in there.
Yeah, it's the greenery from the air that you can see where you're not along the trail that shows you where this wildlife habitat is. And the fact that after that clearing area, the trail splits in two, and the one side goes along the canal and then eventually comes up to the small, straight, narrow, level area, not up a hill and around and down again. It's up a hill and around and down again that has a trail sort of snout, and the engineers don't want to use that. They want to just really go right through the wetlands. I have slides that will show you exactly what that looks like, but you can see it from the chair here. Is that the right one? Yep. Okay.
Yep.
You can see all the trees.
Yep, and there's the path. So they'd be taking all of this down, basically.
And for the locals, it's kind of like, if everybody knows where the Little League field is, if you go on the north side of West Baird Street, that's kind of where the greenery and the wetlands start. You come to Sucker Brook, you come to Elks Club. Nobody really walks there today, because the trail is from going east. And then as you get past the Elks Club, you're going by the Lehigh Railroad Station, old track bed, across from Sauter's, across from the veterinarian, and then that pipe would go underneath the old Kingdom Bridge, if you remember the bridge.
Yeah.
So what Margaret and Ellison are talking about is probably half of this trail that's proposed by B&L and our town board is through uninhabited wetlands. So.
And I just wanted to bring up one more thing. From articles back in 1998, there was, I believe, 98% of people on Bayard Street that were opposed to the trail due to vandalism and so on and so forth. But one thing that I found interesting was that they had said that they didn't want the trail. One of the reasons was for destruction of bird and animal habitat with cutting off the trees and brush that now obstruct the passage along the line of the path. So really, and you're gonna bring in these huge machines and you're worried about a couple of branches and trees. You know, and another thing, I remember when my mother was cleaning this out, there were refrigerators, there were tires, it was a dump. People were dumping their stuff down there. So, okay, I'm done.
It's so good to hear from a member of the family, their feelings about this. Since 2009, since I have a home right on Bear Street, around the corner from the trail, I've been taking pictures of the trail. So what we're going to see in this slideshow are pictures that I've taken over 8 years. I'm not a professional, I'm not Linda Solon, but I'm hoping that this will give you an idea of some of the issues. A number of them point to the Sculpture Trail, and what I want you to notice is the graphic at the top of this sign. When Anthony met Stanton with Ted Ogg, the sculptor in 1998, and this statue has really become a logo on the directional signs in Seneca Falls. It's important because I call attention to this because Ted Ogg described at the last town board meeting on February 6th that this sculpture may become a model for another one. Ted and his colleague at Hobart William Smith, Gabriella D'Angelo, have entered a Central Park sculpture competition, and Colleen Jenkins, who many of you know, the great-great-granddaughter of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, has been promoting this sculpture honoring women and women's rights in Central Park in Manhattan. Well, if Ted and his assistant Gabriella are successful, and there will be when Anthony met Stanton Sculpture installed in Seneca Park in 2020, then our town will have even more visibility and our own sculpture trail will gain national recognition. A sign at the entrance to the trail on your left, and notice the bench by Bunko that is immediately there on the right. Wilhelmina, the Sculpture Trail founder. Wilhelmina Pusmucans will be 85 years old in June. Her adult children, Elizabeth, Ludwig, Lud, and Margaret are all involved now in promoting and protecting the trail. I'm very happy, as we all are, that Margaret is with us tonight. And you also should know that Wilhelmina's grandchildren have set up a Facebook page for the trail. The dedication of the bench by Bunko was held in September 2013. There have been many dedications on the trail and receptions at the dedications. The names of Wilhelmina and 22 women supporters are on the sign identifying the bunch by Bunko. The trail has many, many supporters and volunteer help over the years. This poster board at the left of the trail entrance has a handwritten sign at the base of it. This is a photograph of the sign, and I've made handouts with this message on it. Seneca Falls Town Board wants an easement, eminent domain of the Ludovico Sculpture Trail for installation of a sewer line. This installation would carry waste from the town of Seneca Falls, leachate from the landfill, as well as Del Lago Resort and Casino. Ludovico Sculpture Trail is an ongoing dream of Wilhelmina Pusmucans' founder. This trail is where art meets nature, to be enjoyed by all. Help save our waterway from possible contamination, wildlife that hasn't been disrupted in over 450 years, and the wetlands. The land for the trail, an abandoned railroad bed, was given to Wilhelmina by town resident and businessman Frank J. Ludovico in 1998, 20 years ago. The Ludovico Sculpture Trail was incorporated and opened in 1999, and the first sculpture was installed in 2000. This flag at half-staff is with the first sculpture on the trail. The photo was taken on Thursday, February 15th, the day after the school shooting in Parkland, Florida. The first 5 statues at the beginning of the trail all honor women and their achievements. The Sculpture Trail originally focused on presenting the theme of women's rights and achievements through works created by women artists. Years ago, Wilhelmina noted, traditionally, sculpture is a male-dominated art form. Women sculptors don't have opportunities to exhibit their work. To the right is the second sculpture that appears on the trail. Sue Hawker was honored last fall, Sue Hawker was honored last fall for saving the life of a heroin overdose victim by using Narcan. She was the first female police officer appointed September 11th in 1994. On the right is the second sculpture on the trail, Hillary Clinton. So Sue was the first with the flag. on the right is Hillary Clinton, and on the left is the first sculpture that was installed on the trail. Now it's third in line. The status of women. It commemorated the 150th anniversary of the first Women's Rights Convention in 1848. Many remember that Hillary Clinton was present in Seneca Falls for that anniversary celebration in 1998. Diana Smith was elected the village's first woman mayor in 2004. Dog walkers, as we know, are often on the trail. This photo was taken yesterday. On the left is a graduate of the New York Chiropractic College visiting with his dog Mia, who wanted to check out the mayor's statue. On the right, another walker with his, quote, puppy in training was walking the western wilderness area of the trail, still with snow on yesterday's very warm day. Leaning against the statue on the right of Amelia Bloomer is my granddaughter Ruthie visiting from Colorado. This photo was taken in 2009. She's now a junior in high school. 6 murals by 6 artists. In the bottom photo, notice the mural on the right, titled "The Trail Today." This mural is by Abby Gasly, who I'm very happy is here with us tonight. I'm thrilled. Ruthie is looking at the canal diggers, Irish and Italian. Machine lace. The Eagle Scout Community Service Project. There is a bench that has this sign on it. This project 12 years ago involved 24 volunteers. You get a sense of how many people have invested their time and energy and care in this trail. Sign on the trail, hard to even notice. These lilac bushes are dedicated to the Seneca Falls Town Board in appreciation for their generous support. That was in 2007. Between 2005 and 2007, the Ludovico Sculpture Trail received about $39,000, they say, from the board. The board says, we're still checking these figures. But in the past 3 years, we know for a fact that with eminent domain under discussion, the trail has received absolutely nothing. A slide of the youth graffiti, and what I want to point out, that this is respectful, because graffiti, it's confined to this location. Nowhere else is there any defacement of the trail. And the Wilhelmina and her daughters and Lud, her son, and grandkids, I think all think that this is actually pretty cool. It's the people's art. And I think they have ideas about what more could be made of this. Seen in the background, in the distance, is the very last sculpture to be placed on the trail, Free Spirit. It was dedicated this past August. These photos show this installation in process. The top one is from last April, but the ones below that were from December 2015, as they were putting it in place. After that sculpture are several ones of that enhance the sense and call attention to the natural world. An eagle sculpture, a heron, and then there's a birdhouse in what is obviously wetlands. And this is even before you get to the clearing. So this is still along the developed part of the trail where the sculptors are. Here is a photo from the clearing across the canal from Goulds Pumps. And the dramatic sculpture on that trail is called Goulds Pumps, Working Man's Alchemy. A photo from the cleared area looking back toward the bridge. And it's probably difficult to see, maybe the heron stands out, but before the heron in the water is the birdhouse, and beyond that is the tall pole with the eagle. So all of that is right together in view as you're looking down at the Veterans Bridge, and then you see the Bridge Street Bridge. I took photos in April 2017 of the marks that Barton and LeJudas made on the trail. This was before the eminent domain public hearing. The first one was held on May 10th. Wilhelmina got a call in Buffalo saying that they had been on the trail. They had not called her, notified her. No one was notified. They were defacing the trail without permission. The Ludovico Sculpture Trail is private property. And so here you see on the ground itself, on the stones, are markings. There were markings around trees. You see the wetland area between the trail and the canal. More markings. I started collecting stones with the and there's a tray of stones and ribbons I took off the trees. They're right there. I was so angry. And there are the canal diggers showing the markings on the trail in front of them. Margaret has talked wonderfully about the wetlands and wildlife habitat that are beyond that clearing on the west end of the trail. So these are, the following photos are ones that I took almost a year ago. 2 months from now will be about this point in the time of the trail. The bridge over a brook that goes into the canal marks the beginning of this western section of the trail. Now notice as you're going west and go over the bridge, you can see that there's a divide. It's the road not taken straight ahead, and off to the right you can see the trail. This is a photo from along the canal side where there are no sculptures, but the trail has been it has a rocky surface. Barton and LeJudas plan to improve this. They want to make it up to the canal standard, trail standards, state standards, supposedly 10 feet wide, but they're not going to be using it for the sewer line. This is the trail that goes straight ahead. It's on the flat. It doesn't go up a hill and meet the trail later down the hill. It's much more convenient for them. However, all along it runs this brook, and it goes through this deeply forested area with old growth trees. This photo was from April, as I said, 2017. These photos were taken yesterday. Notice that old growth. This is the endangered bat habitat. The engineers have said, Peter Baker said, to mitigate destroying these trees, they're going to plant new trees elsewhere. The brook runs the entire length of this narrow path. The bottom left photo shows where trees fallen trees had to be cut so that you could still walk the path. And that earlier picture I showed you of the dog walker, the puppy training, was going down this path to the very end of the trail. And on the right, that's the sawed-off log, gives you a sense of the size of these trees. This is what it will look like this spring with the new growth. Most of you may know the River Road access to the Ludovico Sculpture Trail. There's a little tiny path that leads in that connects this NYSEG-owned property to the trail. There it is, River Road with the Sucker Brook, big pipelines passing under the road. There's a small area there. There's a truck parked at it, and on the bottom left, you see it's paved. And on the right, the tiny trail going in, and I think fishermen use that. It's wildlife. There's a picture of it. And this is where huge trucks are going to have access to get to the end of the trail. I want to go back to the murals, because this mural depicts what are the archaeological concerns about this eminent domain project by SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office. They have been alerted about this. The trails lawyer is working on this, and below, above there, you see that the title of this is Cayuga Indians Inhabit Seneca River. I want to read to you what these signs says. It's not so easy to read. Around 1500, the Cayuga Indians established a permanent home along the rapids of the Seneca River. The river produced water, fish, and transportation. The river was also habitat for wild game that provided clothing and food. The Indians lived in longhouses that were made by bending young trees in an arch that were covered with bark. This is the site of the Seneca River, now the Ludovico Sculpture Trail and the Cayuga Seneca Canal, where the Indians fished. So naturally, this land has some interest to the State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO. I wanted to remind you all that this eminent domain public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, March 6th, before the regular monthly town board meeting at the municipal building on Ovid Street. We read in the paper on Friday that the room capacity, which is normally small at 80, is now reduced to 49 because of an exit problem. Only 49 people, and a number of those are the board sitting in front and the department people sitting to the right. This is grossly unfair. And part of the reason we were wanting to speak with you tonight and give more information, some of it that people haven't been aware of, is that we're hoping to recruit some of you to make statements at the public hearing. And if you're reluctant to do that or are going to be away, they certainly take statements, written statements, and the Trails lawyer will be making a statement. My final slide is of the old Minders Academy, of course, with the beautiful park in front. A town asset ignored. Adaptive reuse. A new town hall. Think of what it would be if that were our Seneca Falls Town Hall. And the 15,000 people that marched down the street and around to down Fall Street in January would have seen this magnificent town hall. We now have a little building out in the neighborhood. The Seneca Falls Town Hall would have had walking distance to the town businesses, to the restaurants, to the... It's outrageous, and I can't help but wonder if the Sculpture Trail is going to be, that's now under siege, and will be desecrated if this pipeline goes through, if this isn't another colossal mistake of our town engineer, Spartan and Lejudas.